there were only a few advertising agencies, and people said it would take up to a year to get a job. But I happened to get a job within like 7 days of landing in Dubai. My signature is there on all the posts which I do, and that signature is my personality. And that personality cannot be duplicated by ChatGPT, cannot be duplicated by any other system, because that is something which I have accumulated over years of experience. Anyone can run campaigns online, but it's the ability to measure your conversions and see how at what stage the impressions are converting into clicks and clicks are converting into leads and how leads are converting into appointments and bookings, and then from where it becomes an actual sale.
Welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. Our guest this week is Kishore Dharmarajan, the founder of SEOsook.com. SEOsook is a digital marketing company that helps organizations with their digital presence and the presence in Metaverse. And Kishore is a digital marketing expert, an expert in the arena of Metaverse, AI, and also content writing and advertising. In this conversation with Kishore, we explore all these aspects of marketing, right from content writing to how he got into the digital marketing space, how he weathered the storms of the recession, and how he managed to successfully shut down a company. This is one of the things that's very interesting in this conversation, and listen in for the details here. We also talk about metaverse and the importance of it, the future of it. So let's hear from Kishore. Kishore, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and it's great to speak with you and your audience.
Thank you, Kishore. So, Kishore, let's start with your journey, your story here, right from the beginning. Uh, Tell us about your parents, your siblings, where were you born? Tell us about that part of your life, please.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in India, but I grew up in Dubai. So was lucky to be here in the 70s, 80s, see the city grow. So I had my brother. We both went to the Indian high school. And we still have WhatsApp groups for students of those periods. And many of us are still in Dubai. Some of the students, they have migrated to the US, UK. Some have settled in India. So it was fun. There was no internet, no mobile phones, computers was not around, but it was a lot of fun because you were always looking towards the weekends. You could hang out near the Al Nasser Leisure Land. You had the Channel 33 and a Hindi movie once a week on Thursday nights, and everyone used to call the radio stations to ask which is going to be the next movie for Thursday. And Dubai used to come to a complete standstill on Thursday nights because everyone was in front of their TV to watch the movie, the Hindi movie, and they used to have hundreds of ads in between. So the movie starts at 10, it finishes around 1, 2 p.m. But
Mm.
people were still glued to their chairs because there was no other option. You didn't have any other entertainments.
And what about your parents? Was your father also an entrepreneur, or was he? And your mother, what did they do?
Yes, both of them were entrepreneurs, and that's, I guess, where I get my streak from. So my dad had one of the earliest groceries in the entire Dubai. Unfortunately, we didn't develop on that, and we left by the 80s. So many of the large supermarkets and groceries and department stores which you see around came actually after we kind of left. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So your father was an entrepreneur. I mean, it was a family business. You had your groceries. So, and did that affect? You said like that you got the streak from that. So did you have that aspiration right at the childhood that when you grow up you wanted to? Did you want to become an entrepreneur yourself?
Yes, I was kind of restless as compared to my friends. I was always trying to do new things, getting excited by innovations. Was trying to do out of the box things all the time, and that's probably how I ended up in the advertising industry because it was quite fun.
Yeah, innovation is something that's like, it's a kind of synonymous with you because you're in that space, right? You're always attracted to that innovation, and that shows in what you're doing now in the metaverse space as well. So, so you had this inclination towards like you want to do something, and in the you were attracted towards all innovative things. And tell us about the further studies after that. So, like after you finished your schooling, what kind of studies did you go into?
Yeah, so we left Dubai in the 80s, went back, joined a college over there. I did my uh, English degree. I did my English masters, and after that, I got into the advertising industry. So I studied in Saint Thomas in Thrissur in Kerala. Actually,
Oh, okay, St. Thomas. Okay. So after you finished your studies there, you joined the advertising industry. So, like, tell us about that part of your your corporate job, right? So you, uh, how did the corporate job go? And this was also in Thrissur, or was it somewhere else?
yeah, there was an advertising industry close to the college, so I just walked in and I told him that I have quite good knowledge of the English language and I might be useful to them as a copywriter, and I was ready to work for them for free. So they took me on, and I did some campaigns, and their campaigns were immediately approved. And I was the only person in that agency who could speak English. So the big mystery in Kerala is that a lot of people are good in writing English, but traditionally people can't speak English unless they are exposed to other countries. So it was an advantage for me having grown up in Dubai that I could speak English. So immediately they saw that I can both write English and they can take me for meetings. So that led me to getting a job within like 24 hours of leaving college. So I was employed right away.
Ah, wow, and that's very interesting that you offered to work for free for them. You said you will just go and work, and because you wanted to explore, you wanted to learn, rather than you were not focusing on the money, but you were focusing on the learning. Right?
That's right. Yeah, that was internships well before we had internships, and that was that actually easily opened the doors because I was able to
Yeah,
get in, I was able to work on the campaigns, and then prove my talent, and then they made me a regular employee very quickly.
yeah, yeah. Good. So you started working here at the advertising agency as a content writer, uh, and and then how long did you continue there?
I was there for a year, and then a friend of mine sent me a visa to come back to Dubai. So I came to Dubai, and again, I had a very quick experience in getting a job. So at that point of time, it was not easy to get jobs in Dubai. Talking about like 95, 96. And you didn't have this much of growth, this much number of companies. There were only a few advertising agencies, and people said it would take up to a year to get a job. But I happened to get a job within like 7 days of landing in Dubai, and that's because
Wow.
I was very specific in my approach. So I was not looking for any job. I was just looking for an English copywriter's job in a mid-sized or small agency of 10 people or less. And the day I arrived, a friend told me that an agency is looking for a similar kind of person. I went for an interview, and in like in 7 days, got a job, got the visa, and everything was settled.
This is very, very important. What you said, that you were looking for very specifically small or mid-sized advertising agency job as a copywriter with an agency which is which had like 10 or a few people. So you were very specific. So you knew exactly who to contact then. Brilliant. And I just want to go one step back with that thought process here, Kishore. How did you decide that this is the exact niche? Because you had just finished college, you had worked there for some time in Thrissur, and then when you came here, right at the beginning, how did you have that clarity that this is exactly what you want to, look for?
Yeah, so regarding the job, I knew from the beginning that my strength was in writing, and I also figured out that this is a skill which not many people have. Although everyone can kind of write, the skill that you require to write at a copywriting kind of stage is quite different. So I assumed that there will be less competition if I try to get a job as copywriter. This is something which I enjoyed, so I had that edge from the beginning. And how did I discover the niche? I kind of looked at the agencies in Bombay, and I could see that there were many big agencies with hundreds of employees with high reputation, and then they never used to take anyone on board who doesn't come from a similar kind of agency. So the entry point for a new person in a new market would definitely be something of small skies, where they have a lower pay scale, but your access, your entry point, your restrictions to entry is much lower. So your barrier of entry is lower. So I decided it must be something like mid or small agency which could hire me, because I didn't come from a big agency. I didn't have that big agency experience. So I didn't want to take that risk and spend a lot of time trying to find a job in that niche. So I quickly discovered a spot, the sweet spot, which was quite good enough for me at that point of time.
That's brilliant, Kishore. You knew what your strengths are. You played your strengths, and you also knew what are the limitations that you had. That you don't have the experience of big agents. So, knowing your strengths, knowing your limitations, you played your cards very well to get a job within 7 days, where people thought it will take a year to get a job. Very
That's
good.
right. Yeah, yeah. I've told the story many times on LinkedIn also to inspire other
Yeah.
people, because people try to go all over the place and try to do different kinds of things, whereas they should be actually be looking in one niche.
That's important, and that's also important in terms of when you're looking for customers, as who is your target customer as well.
That's absolutely
So,
correct.
so in this advertising agency, once you joined here, you came to Dubai, and how long did you continue in this company?
Yeah, so I was again the restless kind, couldn't stay on in any agency for a very long period of time. So I got a little bored with the smaller kind of agencies, wanted to do something bigger. And so I started freelancing with larger agencies. Again, I did the same strategy of offering my services free of cost for the larger agencies, and they were pitching for large accounts. So I went in and they got the campaigns, and they kind of realized that this is a talent that they can use. And because I had become quite familiar to them through the freelancing, so suddenly they didn't have an issue of absorbing me, because they already knew me. So they didn't want to know which agency I had, what kind of background I came from, and all of that. So that was the next move which I made in order to achieve my objective.
Wow, that's brilliant. Uh, I know I'm saying the word brilliant so many times, and it is true because that's exactly every move I'm finding. Like, wow, really? So I'm really amazed that so you offered your services for free, and then they got to see the value. Then you got so you moved on to a job with a higher with a bigger agency.
That's right. Yeah, I joined Sachi, and it was good because it was one of the biggest agencies in town. They used to work with brands like Samsung, LG, Dubai Tourism, and so forth. So it was fun. But again, after 3 4 years, I kind of got bored with that, and I thought of starting my own agency. And I did start an agency when I was 32. Started an agency called Eureka, and it picked up momentum. We had 15 people. We had a large office, and unfortunately, we got caught by the 2008 recession, where most of our clients suddenly decided not to advertise. So I had to let the 15 people go, close down the agency, and start looking for a job once again.
That's interesting, Kishore. So you were working here at this agency, and then you decided that you're going to start your own, and you established this company called Eureka. Tell us about your personal side at that time. Were you already married, and did you have a family yet?
Yes, by the time I had moved from Sachi, I had got married, got kids, And so it was very tough to move from a very safe space of having a very large salary, good setup, and all of that, moving into something very risky. But then at that point of time, I thought, if I don't start an agency now, probably it might be late to do it later on in life. So that seemed the best time to do it. It was very tough, honestly, because that was my first business, and so I didn't know the all the aspects of the business. So I was trying multiple things, and it took a couple of years till we got the agency on track, and we had regular clients and regular billing and all of that. So I guess for all people who are starting their business for the first time, it's going to be a little tough because you don't know what is out there.
Yeah, yeah. So, and this is the reason why I asked about the family side here, because you started your business, you started Eureka, and in the initial first couple of years, there wasn't any revenue coming out of Eureka, and you still have to support your family, you still have to run your family. So, can you tell us about that? How did you manage to run your family and fund the business in the beginning for the first 2 years, the initial capital, and running it for the first 2 years, uh, while you didn't have any income because you've quit such?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. So, because I was planning to start a business at some point of time, I was saving a lot of money rather than spending it. So I had saved substantial amount of money while I was working in Sachi. So I used that to start the agency and keep it running, and keep it running even without cash flow. And then, luckily, before I ran out of cash, I was able to get clients. I got some breakthroughs, some very large clients, and that helped us to move forward.
Yeah. And what about employees? Did you at that time already, like before in the first couple of years, before you start getting clients, did you already hire people to support you in the business?
I didn't hire a lot of people. I just had the basic team in place. But I had the mistake of taking a large office, which is something that I would recommend uh, not to do it anymore, especially in this age where you don't require a fancy office to start a business. But somehow at that point of time, I thought it was essential to have a large office. So that was a substantial amount which was going every year. So besides the office, we didn't have major expenses, and we started taking the team after we started getting the clients.
Okay. And you mentioned that initially you only had like the basic stuff. So what kind of so that people get an idea of like when you start a business, especially in kind of an agency, what are the kind of staff that you need, the bare minimum that you had in the beginning?
Yeah, that's a very important question. And actually, I took sales staff because I didn't have a sales experience. What I had was a creative experience, so I could handle the creative copywriting, design, all of that. So I didn't need anyone to do all of that because I could do it from my side. So I hired salespeople, but then I realized that salespeople hiring salespeople and expecting them to bring in sales is not really practical. The business owner themselves have to find the sales and then use the salespeople to kind of uh, look at the account and do to the day-to-day servicing and all of that, because not many people are out there who can actually go and bring sales, because that's a totally different ball game, and that is something which is not, that kind of talent is very very rare to find, where someone can go into the field and get some clients on board and all of that. And that is something which an entrepreneur will have to cultivate on their own. So you can't
Yeah,
bargain on sales team bringing in sales.
that's interesting. So you hired sales, and I think that's like okay because you were not comfortable or you were not sure that you can go out and get sales, but it didn't work. The sales team was yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, this is the takeaway, that anyone starting a business should be able to generate sales from their side without the support of any other person in the in the company.
Yeah. And when the 2008 recession hit, by this time, how long were you running Eureka?
That was 6 years. We had reached 6 years. We have reached 15 team members. We had a large office, multiple clients. But the 2008 recession was very different from anything that has happened after that, wherein everyone knew that this recession had hit, and it was not like one company being affected; everyone was affected. So it was very kind of easy for us to let everyone go, wind down the agency, and the agency had substantial cash flow, cash reserve in hand, luckily. So we didn't have any issue financially. We had enough money to close down quickly and properly and let everyone go. Let I mean the owner also go, and the owner could start. Me could start looking for a job
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
Mm. And so you saw that, okay, there is a recession, the things are not going very well. So this is where you decided that, okay, I'm going to wind down. And I think this is important. Had you not thought that, okay, you would have reached a point where it would have been difficult to even close down, right?
That
You
is
decided on in time, right? Yeah,
That is correct. And you need to have enough cash in hand so that you don't have cash issues when you close down, and
yeah,
you don't have unpaid bills, unpaid salaries, and so forth. So it is very
yeah,
important to have cash reserves. So when times are good, that's when you should be saving a lot of money for the company itself. And you shouldn't spend it as an owner on new cars or new offices or new stuff.
right. So while you were all these 6 years when Eureka was running well, you were keeping cash reserves, and this is what came to your rescue. Let's talk
Yes.
a little bit about the yeah, the closing costs. So you mentioned that, okay, you need to pay your so we understand you need to settle all the outstanding bills. You need to pay the staff on and finish, pay their salaries. What other closing costs are involved when you shut down a business?
So I had a finance person who was handling all of that. So what I used to do is look at the reports and costs that he provided me and check to see whether all the facts and figures are right. But he was basically managing all the other aspects, the aspects of going to the government departments and all of that to do the procedures. So there are multiple costs involved, and as one goes through that phase, you'll find out all the costs which are actually involved in that.
Okay, okay. So now, not just when you register a company, of course, you need money to register a company, but also when you close down a company, there is fees required there. Right?
There is, yes.
So this was a new chapter in your life now that you shut down Eureka and then you went back to looking for a job. So did you go continue in the same industry, in the ad industry, or did you change industries when you look for a new job?
No, I changed my industries because the ad industry had kind of got phased out by then. Luckily, because I was the restless type, I was always looking at new things coming into the market. And I kind of realized that digital was where the future is. And I had become a digital expert by that time, which was quite lucky because the next job which I got was as a digital analytics manager at a large bank. And the only reason that I got that job was they were using a kind of analytics platform which no one knew how to operate. And I, being curious, I had mastered that platform for no reason. So I was immediately employed on the spot. During the interview itself, they said, you're kind of don't go and do more interviews because you're on board. We have done multiple interviews. We never found anyone who knew how to use this. So you're 100% qualified for this job. So in the first interview itself, they told me, asked me, requested me not to attend other interviews. And the funny part was on that same day, I got employed by two companies. So that was quite lucky, and that came around because I had mastered digital. It was nothing, no other extra talents that I had except being curious and trying to look
Mm.
at various digital platforms and all of that. So I had two job offers in hand actually after leaving the entrepreneurial space and coming back into the workspace.
Yeah. And just by the way, just curious to know what analytical platform was this?
That's called web trends, and it's used by large banks. And because they have a problem with third party cookies, they don't use Google Analytics. So many companies use a platform called Omniture, which is by Adobe, and some others use WebTrends. So this itself is a complex analytics platform. It's very different to Google Analytics, which is what everyone knows. So being exposed to these platforms actually gave me a great edge at that point of time, and it quickly helped me to get into the workspace, get a new job, new visa, everything new. So went back to
Yeah.
the workplace once more.
And how were you exposed to this particular to WebTrends platform? Like, how did you learn about them earlier on?
Yeah, I was quite active on LinkedIn, and I was following a lot of digital experts. So I was very interested in seeing how they are measuring conversions, because anyone can run campaigns online, but it's the ability to measure your conversions and see how at what stage the impressions are converting into clicks and clicks are converting into leads and how leads are converting into appointments and bookings, and then from where it becomes an actual sale, was very fascinating to me. And I was looking at that journey. I was looking at Google Analytics, and then I was looking for other platforms which have got more granular information. And that's how I came across both Omniture and WebTrends. And that's how I kind of looked at that. I mean, there were other platforms also, like Volume, for example, which is not well known, but it's very popular in the affiliate world. They use Volume because that has got much more features, but it's not well received in the corporate world.
Okay. Yeah, and that's important here because you were always on the lookout for, like, and you are always on the lookout for learning new things, and digging, even now you are always doing that. So you got into now. This is now 2008. We're going through a recession, and you get this job, and now chapter two starts, which is chapter three. Now that you're in the job again, and how long did you continue there in that job?
I was there for 1 year, and they took me to the UK and all for extra training and all of that. So that was quite fun to do that. And because of my activity on LinkedIn, uh, I met a person who was running an agency, a digital agency um, called WSI, and he was very keen to leave the agency and go to Canada. So he was looking for someone who to manage the agency as a general manager, running the entire agency. So he convinced me to join in that company as a general manager. And for me, it was an easy decision to move from the bank to that agency because I knew that I would be going back to the entrepreneurial space soon enough. Because someone who has that kind of itch cannot actually do a 9 to 5 and retire, because some people are not made that way, and I'm not one of those. So I need to do something extra all the time. I'm restless. So I kind of thought, okay, this is my way back to the entrepreneurial journey. So this is like, you get a chance to run an agency without a risk, see how the digital market is, learn again the ropes of that industry, and then start an agency of your own.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you joined as in you joined your friend's agency as a general manager, and running the entire show.
Yeah, not a friend.
Hmm.
It was someone who I met on LinkedIn, and
Okay.
he employed me as a general manager, and he went to Canada. So I was running that agency for 5 years.
Okay. And so when did you decide that, okay, you want to, like, is this after 5 years of running that? Is that when you started your own company, or were you still in the process of either finding another job or running something else?
So that company was quite good because I had entire freedom to run the agency and I had multiple people working for me. So in a way, it was like being an entrepreneur, but without the risk, because all the risk is taken by the owner and you get a paycheck at the end of the month. So there is no major risk. And it was very comfortable, and that's how I continued for 5 years, which I guess is the longest that I have been at any space. And after 5 years, I had to pull myself out of that comfort zone and start SEO Souk in 2016.
Hmm. So in 2016 is when you launched SEO Souk. Um, Tell us about that name first. Like, what was your thought behind, choosing that particular name, SEO Souk?
Yeah, I wanted to create a marketplace for SEO agencies where people can come and build a community over there, come and interact and start having bidding for SEO tasks and all of that. So that's how I came up with that name. And when I registered the name, it slightly changed into from a community into a company which was doing SEO work. So that's how the name came about.
So you first registered the website seosouk.com.
That's right, yes. And then registered the company and then in Abu Dhabi 2454 and started the company over there.
Okay, okay. So this was 2016, and so talk us through that process. Like when you started SEO Souk, okay, um, like did you have, you know, challenges growing it, and talk us through that process of growing it till the point where it, because after that we talk about COVID, but you the initial part and the struggles of the initial starting the company.
Yeah, so SEO Souk was a very different story to Eureka. And I didn't have much of a growing pains in SEO Souk as I had in Eureka. Because I kind of learned the lessons over there. And so I kept everything to a minimal. And most importantly, I discovered how to generate clients using LinkedIn by posting content. So that was giving me visibility, that was giving me inquiries, that was giving me meetings. So I have never had to go looking for business. Business was always coming looking for me, and people are always trying to get an appointment, trying to fix a meeting, trying to see if we are available for work and things like that. So we just take some meetings, review things, give our costing, and that's it. So we don't do follow-ups, no traditional follow-ups, no going after clients, none of that. So it's quite easy, laid back, because of the visibility generated on LinkedIn, Facebook, other channels. Uh, People come looking for agencies which are able to deliver what they say. So it has been quite easy for us second time round.
Wow. And this is an important part, for the audience here, the to learn how to create a presence online on LinkedIn, that it changes the whole game. It changed the entire game for you. You didn't have to follow. People were following up with you, or people were business was coming to you, right? What's the difference? There are some people who just go on LinkedIn and post something, or they say that this is my company, this is what I do. But there is something different that SEO Soup does.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is that there are not a lot of content creators on LinkedIn. Most of the people are content consumers, and that's because when you work for large companies, you have a lot of restrictions on posting content on LinkedIn. You need your approval from your line manager. You need approvals for using images, for using text. So you have different issues of posting. So that's advantage number one. Second advantage is even among the 1% of people who are posting on LinkedIn, 99% are consuming it. So even among that 1%, most of the people are posting the same kind of content, something that they've seen or something that they've read, something they've seen on TV or something like that. So which doesn't have a signature. It doesn't have their personality reflected on. on their post. So when I write something, and if I don't even post my name over there, someone who is a constant reader of my post, they kind of know after reading this, yeah, this is written by this person, because my signature is there on all the posts which I do, and that signature is my personality, and that personality cannot be duplicated by ChatGPT, cannot be duplicated by any other system, because that is something which I have accumulated over years of experience, and that's my perspective on life, on business, and that
Mhm.
is what is setting me apart. And this is probably what anyone who's listening to this should be doing, which is to imprint their personality on their content, which is something which no one is really talking about, and even less are practicing actually.
Yeah, and if you imprint your personality, it is unique because there is only one you.
That's
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, it's like your DNA. It's there's only one
yeah,
you.
yeah. So now you started SEO Souk, and the team is there. You're running the company, and then COVID hits. Tell us about the impact. Did COVID impact your business in some way?
No, COVID didn't actually impact us because SEO Souk is a company built for an earthquake. So it is it is built for the bad times, because we had learned from our earlier business venture that bad times are always around the corner, and you should have a business which is on the lookout for these kind of disasters. So that is a big lesson that we learned, and that has been implemented on SEO. So everything is kept to the minimal, and the marketing is on maximum. And so even when people are quiet, we are all over the place. So people tell me that they wake up in the morning getting alerts on their mobile phones about the newsletter that I'm posting on LinkedIn. And even people, when I went to India for vacation, people said that they're getting alerts, and because of time difference, it's quite early for them that they are getting the alerts, and they're waking up just so it's like an alarm clock that every day they are waking up to my posts. Sometimes they don't read it, but still they are being reminded by the ding 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 every day that this person has posted something. So there is top of mind awareness, and so I guess that has helped us a lot. And plus, we also had the Facebook group, wherein we invite people to come and talk and discuss and chat, and because not everyone gets a chance to air their opinion, not everyone gets a chance to be interviewed or be called upon stage and share their vision and their thoughts. So podcasts like this, the community that we have built up, all of this is giving an opportunity for people to showcase their personality. So I guess that has helped us to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, and talking of that, of the Facebook group, right? So it is DMD, uh, so Digital Marketing Dubai, which is, so you decided to call it something else than your company name. You didn't attach SEO Souk or anything in the name there. Uh, why? What was your thought process behind that?
Yeah, the idea was to create a community of digital marketing experts who come and talk about the latest trends, latest things which is happening in the tech space. And that's why I started off with Digital Marketing Dubai. And I thought people would from Dubai would be mostly be interested. But later on, I discovered that people from other countries are also coming into this group. But probably because Dubai is an area where everyone aspires to come to, I guess the name has worked quite well. So when people search for Dubai on Facebook, probably I guess they are also finding the group. So it has helped in hindsight.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. And for with SEO Souk, okay, now can you tell us in brief about like the your elevator pitch for SEO Souk? What is the profile of the company exactly?
So the company is primarily doing SEO and content marketing as well as digital marketing for a small sector. At the same time, after we have built trust in this sector, they 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 use us to get into the metaverse and explore the new metaverses which are coming there and their strategies on how to be present on metaverse and how to use generative AI. So they trust us to be their be their technical pioneers to um, help them lead into the new directions where technology is taking them. So we've kind of grown from content marketing and SEO and digital marketing into other areas like metaverse and generative AI.
Metaverse and generative AI. Yeah, this is very very fascinating. And today is the 30th of April, 2023, as of the time when we are recording this. And by the time this episode comes on air, I think it will be in the past, but as of now, it's in the future. So on the 15th of May, you're conducting a webinar about Metaverse, right? So
That's
Tell
correct.
us, yeah, tell us about that webinar, because obviously by the time people are watching this, this will be the webinar would have been in past. But let's still talk about the, because you keep doing all these things about. So tell us about the webinar and tell us about Metaverse there, please.
Yeah, so the metaverse is slightly more challenging for people to understand because it's a 3D environment, it's an immersive experiences, and there's just not one metaverse, there are multiple metaverses around us. And there's no way one can go from one metaverse into the other. You need to log out and log in back into another metaverse. And so people have been challenged by trying to understand how they can be a part of this, how they can take advantage of this, and whether, most importantly, whether it is a trend that will pass, and if they can safely go back to the social media world, which they kind of understand. But the bad news is that social media will eventually evolve into the metaverse because we have 3G, 4G, 5G, and we can't go back to 2G. So similarly, we kind of progressed from the Web 1 world where we had the static websites and all of that. We moved into social media where it's more interactive, and now we need to have an immersive experience. So there's a kind of natural progression that all of us will be going through, and that includes personal as well as business wise industries. All of that will move to the metaverse. So, what we are trying to do is making it easier for people to understand how to use these technologies and how to improve their business and their life using these metaverses. That is number one. Number two is about generative AI, which has become very popular because of ChatGPT and with the possibilities of ChatGPT, as well as the threat that comes with ChatGPT, whether people will lose their jobs, their contracts, and eventually you'll have singularity where you might end up being in a battle with the AI bots. So there is top of mind awareness for both metaverse and generative AI, and because there is a lot of confusion, we are bringing more clarity on how users can use all of these technologies for their business and how they can use it for their careers and how they can move forward in using all of that.
Okay, that's very very interesting, and it is. I think it is. This is the time that people should learn, including myself. I'm curious to learn about metaverse, learn about AI, and get familiarized with this whole new world. Uh, so, Kishore, it has been quite a journey for you, right? And you started as a content writer, and then you worked in several jobs and several. You've started uh, multiple times. You've started a business. So, if you were to give advice to people who are just getting started now, the aspiring entrepreneurs who are either in a job and want to start a business, or they've just quit their job and they've just started their business, what would be your top two or three pieces of advice for them?
Yeah, sure. So anyone who's starting off on their entrepreneurial journey needs to keep uh, this point very much in their mind that less than 15% of companies which start up eventually see their first birthday. So within the first 12 months, 85% and more than that kind of close down. So that's the ground reality of startups. And so there is a reason why this 15%, and this 15% seems to be cropping up in the UAE, in India, in the US, in the UK. So there's something that this 15% is doing that the other 85% are not doing, which is leading to their staying alive and keeping that entrepreneurial uh, flame running. So uh, you need to realize that the chances of becoming successful with a startup is very, very less. So all that enthusiasm, all that energy, all of that will drain away in the first 12 months. And possibly you will have to go back to your workplace if the startup fails, or probably you'll have to find more funding and things like that. So there's a lot of negativity more than positivity and enthusiasm, which is awaiting the entrepreneur. So reducing the chances of being phased out in the first 12 months depends on the actions that you take in the beginning, which is, for example, doing a lot of research on what you are planning to do and seeing if there are any precedents out there which have become successful. So, in any industry that you are entering, you will see that a few companies are very successful, and most of them are semi successful or less successful. So, again, finding out what those smart companies did to make them extremely successful over a period of time could be quite beneficial. Many entrepreneurs, including myself, have a kind of feeling that we will figure it out, or we are doing something new which doesn't have competition, which is actually very dangerous. You always need to do stuff which has got competition and learn from the people who have done it successfully. I think spending more time in trying to investigate what they did right will actually have a better result for you, more than having more cash flow, or more funding, or going after the investors, or finding your niche, or anything else, as compared to investigating the winners and following the success trail, I guess, would be
Yeah.
the best advice that I can give.
Yeah, I think this is why Be Your Own Boss podcast exists. This is exactly what we're doing here. It's showing those examples of what worked and also what didn't work. Right, in our journey, in each entrepreneur's journey, there are things that work, things that didn't work, and we bring that to the light here so that um, we can learn from those. Kishore, when you look back now uh, at this entire journey that you've come through, and what are like who is the one that you would like to give credit to for your success?
So credit for my success, I would. There's no person out there. It's more of curiosity in trying to find out what is happening next, or what's happening um, in each industry sector, and that comes through books, through online spaces, through YouTube. There are multiple courses out there which you can explore. So I guess having that curious mind, which comes with your DNA, part of your character, is
Yeah.
the biggest asset that I have, which I feel, and probably someone else has got their own strengths, their own thoughts, and things like that. But I guess this has been my top reason for being at least successful to this extent.
So it's the strength, it's the curiosity, which is your strength, and the willingness to learn, the eagerness to learn, and which is now. Kishore, you mentioned about books here. So can you suggest what books that come to your mind, top of your mind, that you would recommend for the listeners?
Yeah, for mindset, I would recommend a book called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, which is a German author. It's very insightful, and many people who read that kind of don't get it, but people who get it get a lot from it. It just shows that life is not as important or as stressful as we think it is, because there are different layers of life and challenges and outcomes, and you'd be able to get a better grasp of life just by reading this book. It's called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, German writer. So that is one book which is very top of my mind. Coming to marketing, looking at positioning is very very important, and that is possibly the reason, one of the reasons why Steve Jobs has been so successful with Apple, because they have positioned their product very well. So going through the positioning series by these writers would be a good idea. And if you're looking at psychological insights, you have the predictably irrational, which is very insightful because he's a kind of neurologist slash psychologist trying to look at how people are able to persuade others using various things. So although his books are written for the academic world, it's become very popular in the among marketers. So persuasion and predictably irrational are two books that I would highly recommend, because the kind of case studies that they have is something that you don't see in any other course or uh, any other marketing journals. So it's very advanced, and I suspect many of the things that he has said in persuasion and predictably rational has not really been explored, because the big opportunity that many people have in marketing right now is that uh, everyone has been brought up on Philip Kotler's principles of marketing, which is based on the four P's and all of that. So it's a very structured uh, methodology, which everyone like. If you go to any marketing head of marketing or marketing director of any large company in town, here or in India, they are all believers of the principles of marketing by Philip Kotler, which is what is the foundation. But beyond the foundation, there is a lot of psychology which is involved. So that psychology part is totally missed by marketers. And this is where predictably irrational and the persuasion are standing out. And that has not been explored. So people are behind tools. They're trying to, use ChatGPT or other tools to write quickly. Hugging Chat, for example, is another one which is becoming more popular, like ChatGPT. So using these tools to quickly find solutions, whereas the actual solutions are hidden within the human psyche, and it requires neurologists and psychologists to bring that out and put it on the on the drawing board. And as marketers, you can go and look at these books and get insights, and then you can apply it, and you're kind of ahead of the rest of the market because they are not exposed to that. It's all news for them.
Yeah, Kishore, I'll need your help with the links to these books. So if we can, get these links, we'll include the links in the show notes and in the description for YouTube, so that you can, people can check it out.
Yeah.
Kishore, talking of the life of an entrepreneur, there is a lot of stress, there is a lot of work involved, and as compared to a normal 9 to 5 job where there are weekends when people wind down and relax over the weekends, that's not the case with entrepreneurs, right? It's a different kind of this. So in your life, in your case, what is your way of rejuvenating yourself? What's How do you recharge your battery and stay fit, stay positive?
I guess for an entrepreneur, it's slightly different. Number one, your makeup, your mental makeup itself is slightly different, wherein you kind of uh, are comfortable with a lot of challenges and trying to solve those things, solve problems. So that's where you kind of get your energies. So there's no draining of battery per se. It's more that the bigger challenges you have, the more recharge you get. And I guess the big problem is how to wind down or the energy that you are getting charged with all of your problem solving, and how to transition that into the family atmosphere, or when you go on vacation, how to turn all of that energy around and use it for something else. So the typical thought of your commuting, going for work, coming back trained is not how I guess a typical entrepreneur works. An entrepreneur gets to the job, gets charged up by all the challenges, and the more challenges, the more charge they get, and then they have to learn how to unwind and reduce all this extra energy that they have gained.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's very well said. If we can use the analogy of a mobile phone versus a laptop that is connected to the power source directly. Okay, so mobile phone has to be charged at the end of the day, but your laptop is connected. So this is entrepreneurship is like that. It's a constant source of this. Great, great, great. So, Kishore, it has been a wonderful conversation. I really, really appreciate you taking out time and coming on the show, sharing your journey, sharing your these nuggets of wisdom and how you did it. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Kishore.
Thanks a lot, and have a great day.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Kishore Dharmarajan, the founder of SEO Souk, and you've been watching and listening to Your Own Boss.